Hello, welcome to a very special interview this morning. And our guests today are Professor Devy, my left hand side, and Professor Surekha Devy. So, Devy, Professor Devy is a very distinguished scholar, linguist, and tireless activist who has authored and edited more than 100 publications spanning diverse fields of knowledge. He was formerly professor of English at the Maharaja Sujayarao University of Baroda. That's the University of Baroda, isn't it? Yeah. Professor of Humanities at Dhirubhai Ambani Institute of Information and Communication Technology, Gandhinagar. Professor of Social Sciences at the Center of Multidisciplinary Development Research, Dhawat, and Obiet Siddiqui, Chair Professor at the National Center for Biological Sciences, Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, Bangalore. He is currently Senior Professor of Eminence, and Director of the Somaya School of Civilization Studies at Somaya Vidyavihar University, Mumbai. He founded the Bhasha Research and Publication Center at Baroda in 1996 and the Adivasi Academy at Tesgadha in 1990. And Surekha ji, she is a professor. She was a professor of chemistry in Baroda University, the same university. And to interview someone of Professor Devy's eminence, actually one also needs to do some homework. And somehow, last couple of days I was busy with so many things that I didn't get that time to do my homework properly. I should admit this to my audience. But then still, while we do the interview, while we go through the interview, maybe the audience will also learn certain things and I will also learn certain things when we are on the process. So first, I want to know, because the other day I did an interview with you couple of weeks back on the present usage, delimitation, census and SIR, how these three things are all combined together. And today of course we are going to have a consultation on this census thing. But now this interview I try to understand you, your activity, your intellectual, you see, this trajectory. So that is why I just want to begin with your childhood. So tell us something about your childhood, about your, you see, schooling and things.
Well, I was born in Maharashtra, in a very small village. That village had a small town, I should say, with a population of about 5,000. That had a couple of high schools and about 3 or 4 primary schools. One public library, a small public library. But outside the village, outside that town, there are other villages. They were all paddy growing. On the hilly side of Maharashtra, Western Ghats, very beautiful. And I have seen in my childhood lots of communities, wandering communities, settled communities, agrarian communities, and also the grain sellers, business communities, and so on. But it's not the place that matters, it's the time when I was a child. I was born in 1950, the year when India got became republic.
The republic,
Yes.
Constitution.
Yes. Gandhi was very much in the air. Dr. Ambedkar was still alive around. So I remember after Dr. Ambedkar's passing away, there was a procession mourning for mourning his death in that town. I was a 7-year-old, so I imbibed the spirit of independence, the spirit of constitution from very early times. Dedicated teachers. So I studied in Marathi. Then I went to college in Maharashtra. Uh, then to England.
Now, just one little intervention. You said something very interesting that actually where you were born, more than that, actually the time, the milieu, that was important.
Yeah, what makes a generation is the time in which it is born and the cultural influences. When tell you, in those years, we had wandering merchants all the way from Nepal to my town who used to bring some silk, some saffron, some of them were dentists. They were not trained dentists, but they're traditional. So Buddhism, Jainism, Hinduism, Islam, all of this Christianity, all of them coexisted in that town. And so my idea
What was the name of the town?
so Bhor, 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 about 30 miles south of Pune. So, and the same with Surekha. She was born in. I mean, she should say.
So, tell us about your childhood also.
I am also born in 1950 after the independence, and I come
the same year.
same year, couple of months difference only. But I belong to the place which is a still conflict area between Karnataka and Maharashtra, because my place is Nipani, and both states they claim it. So, but the small town when I was in a school, we never had a feeling of Hindu Muslim, because we never realized that these are two different communities. We thought it is something his name is there, but
Yeah, some they have little different in their religion is different, the thing is different, but then that is
together. Wall to wall houses.
that was not a problem. That difference was not a problem.
Another thing in those years, Surekha, if you remember, where we went to school, the children from well-to-do families and children from poor families
Together.
co-inhabited the school space without feeling any sharp difference between their economic status. There was no, I mean, we understood that somebody is poor, somebody is not so poor, somebody is rich, somebody not so rich. That perception was there. But the social distinction was not sharp.
Yes. Actually, same is the case with our generation also. So I was born around 1959-60, and it's a difference of about say 8-10 years from your generation. So when we went to school, so there was a teacher, Sanskrit teacher, Sastri, and there is a actually Farsi who used to teach us Farsi and Arabic. There is another teacher. So and on every Friday, the leisure time, the break was. Other days the break used to be after 4 periods. On Friday, because these teachers they'll have to go for namaz, so it was after 3 periods. So that way, the Friday we always used to actually look forward to the Friday, because this school will get the break a little early after 3 periods.
There's a third remarkable thing about our generation, and that is not much discussed in Indian sociology, but it needs discussion. The distance between the site of production and the site of consumption was much less. In my town, I mean, there were tailors who made our shirts and trousers, and the cobblers who made our shoes, and inside the homes, the pounding, grinding was done inside the homes. Uh, if uh, if something broke down, then we used to mend it inside the house. There was no outsourcing of labor. So monetization of labor, because it is outsourced, was nearly absent. We always thought that something became useless, we could use that thing for something else. So there was a transformative reproduction within your own space. That that today is completely absent. That is, we don't know where things get produced. If something breaks down, we just don't know how to mend them, and therefore we are producing more and more junk, and complete alienation between production and its use. So that the togetherness of this society that we both of us mention, and we often, sit down and speak about this, that Hindu, Muslim, Christian, Parsi, Sikh, they were together, was not about religious harmony. It was about harmony between labor and consumption. That once that breaks down, then to keep social harmony intact becomes very difficult. And so inside our homes, we did all work. There was no work which was less important or more prestigious, and that was not there. I mean, or cleaning of things, or decorating of things on festival days. We all did it together. We fought. We also, among friends. But friendships were thicker than they are now. I think now, even in school space or college space, kids are more formal with each other than they were before. The last thing, do you think this? At home, everybody did every work.
No, what I think is what he says is absolutely right. But you see, the town was self-sufficient. Means what they say that Atmanirbhar. Now what that it was already an Atmanirbhar, because we never depended on currency in my childhood. Because vegetable or fruits, when they used to sell it at home, you have to give some grains and get those things. Everything used to come, and the town was self-sufficient. No migration was there. Generation of the occupation was within the town, and every school was there. Some dispensaries were there. That time, this type of COVID, etc., was not there. Simple, the doctor will check you, the nadi pariksha, some medicine he will prepare, give it, and you used to be recovered.
The last thing is the treatment of the human body, the body. There was no allergy. Touching it, you could put your arms around the shoulders of your friend easily, or if somebody did that, it was not seen as violation of your space. So the distance between the body and the body was less. Between work and consumption was less. Between religion and religion was less. And between poor and the rich was less. I said is not about where I was born, but it's about when I was born. But it is, I think, the idea of the idea of the distance and the space was very different. That has changed now completely.
Now, these are actually what we are discussing right now. Apparently, these are very small. It looks as if these are very small things. Actually, these are not very small things. These are very, actually, it determines our life. Now, I live now in an apartment, and there I have grown some plants. And I was born in a agricultural family in a village. It is not very far from Guwahati, just maybe 25 kilometers. But at the time I didn't realize the importance of certain things. Now when I am detached from my root, now I understand it much better. Now actually I have got some plants, and I see that okay, when cut vegetables, we cut fruits, nothing goes waste, nothing, absolutely nothing, because I actually, those refuses, I actually feed the plants, and then it's a plant is also, it is also healthy, and there is no waste. Only waste, as you were telling, what are the main waste now? The plastics, which will not digest, will not decompose. This is the main waste. Even we are non-vegetarian, even the bones of the fish you can put in the plants, and they get nourished. And this thing was that this actually, the alienation, the way the alienation is taking place in the society, the consumption and production, we do not know. We consume everything, but we do not know actually who is producing, where it is being produced, how it is being transported, and the main thing actually involves that. That is the way the money is made. That is the way, I think, you see, mega projects come and all these things. So that was the background, that was actually the milieu of your childhood.
And in schools?
In schools.
In schools, no teacher ever told us that you should become an engineer or a doctor or a lawyer or nothing. The school was where you learned. Learning was a world in itself and not an instrument for going to some other space or world. That was a very fulfilling experience. So we loved the subject. We didn't care how many marks we got, but love for the subject was inculcated by the teachers.
Yeah, and when you so after your schooling, when you went to college, so how was the sense, or where did you go to college?
Well, for between the two of us, there's a vast difference. She was a gold medalist. She was among the toppers. Surekha was very bright. So she was among the topper in the Karnataka state for matriculation. She had a university first in BSc, similarly MSc. Surekha was cleverer, and she was among the toppers for SSC matriculation in Karnataka state, and among the toppers for BSc, toppers for MSc, and so on. So in my case, it was different. I went to Pune to study in a science college, and I felt that the way maths was being taught there was not very good. So I decided to drop out. Then I decided that I won't study at all. So went to Goa. Goa just
You decided not to study.
yeah. So I went to Goa and started working in one of the mines there for a short time. But there I came across a library, a village library, and I read there a book by Pearl S. Buck, The Good Earth.
Yeah, good.
And I realized that I could read the entire book and I had something to say about it. I was 16-year-old because I had finished matriculation at 14. So then I thought I should go back to some college and do literature instead of mathematics. So I did my BA with literature, maths and history, and then went on to do MA and then PhD in literature. It was that when I had just completed my MA, I was doing my MA and she was doing her MSc in the university, same university, we met. So she came through a very bright academic track and I came from a very rebellious academic track.
So how these two actually minds meet?
Sir, question too.
It accidentally, means it was going to happen, it happened. That's what I can say. Because we didn't know, we have never met each other. He was active on the campus, so his name was known among the students because some agitation is there, something is there, or if some injustice is happening, he will lead the group. So he was known. I had seen him, but one day when I went to the library to exchange the books, he was coming out of the library and he asked me, "Will you marry me?" And I don't know. That's just like that in front of this library. I was entering, he was coming out. And I said yes.
No, later she told me that actually she had not heard what I was saying. And she just said
Then I
yes.
said, he said, "How did you say?" I said, "Probably I didn't understand what you asked." I said.
Quite interesting. No, but then one thing I have noticed, actually I'm meeting you only, say last time I met both of you in Delhi, and before that he spoke to me on the phone, or we were speaking occasionally on the phone, and when I met you in Delhi, that was first time. But I am little surprised in the sense that actually when I speak to him and his concerns, his understanding about society, about the contemporary, actually concerned contemporary issues, I feel as if there's so much, you see, understanding between both of us. See what he speaks and what your position and his position, there is no difference. And okay, you are not that active like him, but then you feel the same way. How is it? why this harmony and understanding and coordination between both of you?
I can say from my side, you see, my background is, though I am not that active in like the way he is active in social society and other things, but my upbringing was the similar one. My father was absolutely Gandhian. We used to, we used to charkha ghar pe, always khadi till I went to the college, and then I said I want to use other clothes now. I don't want to use the khadi, but we have to wash our clothes at home. And whatever gold, we don't have a land. My father didn't have the land, but we had some gold at home. When Vinoba Bhave asked for this Bhudan movement, he gave all the gold.
His father gave all of it.
Yeah.
And this lady, I met her now 55 years ago. She's never asked for buying any gold. She's not even asked me to buy a sari for her in 55 years. You won't believe. She has not. I don't know.
We imbibe these things from the way you were growing up, from your parents, and from the social society and social.
So I had seen the poverty. I had seen, we were not rich, but we were well to do off. But there was poverty, and my father always used to help. So we, from the childhood, if some child is asking for something, we'll go to the shop, buy it, give it to the child. Means at home, poor people's. So that was somehow, I never felt that it is something extraordinary you are doing. You are doing the routine thing. My mother always used to cook food and give the people, whoever comes home. So, and at our house, anyone has access to the kitchen. And they will come and with right, they will ask my mother, give me the food. So that is how I was grown up. So even reading, etc., we were told by our teachers, my father, particularly my father, what to read. And I remember one small incident I'll share. My brothers, we had a large family. My brothers one day went to the RSS Shakha, and they came back in the evening, and we were discussing. By that time, my father came from outside, and he said, "No, you are not supposed to go there." That's what he said. And they were small, so no one asked, "Why not?" But he said, "No, we went for exercise." He said, "You go to that ground, do the exercise, but not there." So later on, then we came to know what is that RSS and why he said don't go there. So these are the things, and then gradually with the college, etc. And I met him when I was just 2021. So from that time, we always discussed about society, injustice, and those things. So it happened, I think.
But that is necessarily very spontaneously. And when at the beginning of the interview we said that, oh, what I have to say, maybe you interview him only. What I have to, now I have seen that you are equal, you have participated, and you are also saying you are not silent. Maybe your participation is more than him. That's so good, very good. Now I am coming to a little bigger question. I have seen. Now I have only half read one of your books. That is that is after amnesia. I have read half of that book. But whatever I have gathered about you, I found one thing in you, and that is there are some people who are activists. There are some people who are scholars, and the combination between activism and scholarship, the scholarly search, very rarely these two things, we see two things combined in one person. We can remember the scholar like Edward Said, who was a brilliant scholar, at the same time was an activist. So in your intellectual search also, I find these things. When you think that, okay, this is the issue, you need to present this, and there is an action point in that. There are elements of activism that you need to make people aware of this. But at the same time, there is a serious side to it. Scholarship, proper. See, it has to be based on proper scholarly academic foundation, whatever you are saying. So, how is it going on in your career, from college days then to the later parts? That
It has been our tradition, the mainstream tradition in India, mainstream, begins with Gautam Buddha, who said, when there is a problem, you need to first accept that problem is, then understand it. In the understanding lies the solution of a problem. Your problem is not, so therefore scholarly work, academic scholarship is different, is for teaching, is for formal institutional space. But good scholarship is to understand. All the activists in freedom fight were very good writers, thinkers. It was Dr. Ambedkar, Gandhi, Nehru, M.N. Roy, Jayaprakash, and you name anybody, Vinoba Bhave, she mentioned, everybody, Azad, they thought deeply, wrote about those things, and then transformed their thinking into activism. And that's why very big change could occur. So I'm not saying writing and publishing are intellectual. Writing is the product of thinking, understanding and thinking. That is intellectual activity. Writing is production, the output of that. In my life, this after amnesia came because I was listening to Indian scholars thinking about criticism, and I thought there was something deeply flawed in the way they were looking at things. I noticed that they were carrying a lot of burden of the past on their shoulders, or on another shoulder, burden of the West. So either they were hooked onto the West or to ancient past. But I thought the best thing is to actually look at the lived life of people. If you think of Assam from Shankar Dev down to our times, or Kabir in Central India down to our times, or Jnaneshwar in Maharashtra to our times, because they spoke our languages. Jnaneshwar spoke Marathi, Shankardev spoke Ahami or Asamiya, Kabir spoke, the Hindi, what we call Hindi.
No, I'll come to that actually issue a little in deeper. But then this actually very often I think about it, that this scholarship. What is scholarship? What is academia? Now, what we see in the universities and all around us in the name of education, higher education. Now, how people can understand an issue, a subject, without getting actually organically involved in it? Is it possible?
No. It's like if there is the fire in the belly, which is hunger, then alone food will taste nice. Not otherwise. Otherwise it will get like stuffing.
Yeah. That is what actually I find is quite funny. The present most of the present intellectual exercises in universities and colleges, I find most of them mindless actually. It's a strong word, but then it doesn't attract me. And as you were saying, if we look the intellectual history of the world throughout, the renowned actually scholars, we call them scholars or we call them reformers or whatever. So without practicing, without getting involved with this problem, I do not think anybody has. If we think in terms of Freud, in terms of Marx, in terms of anybody, even here in India, Gandhi, Tagore didn't go to a
formal school. Yes.
Formal
Yes, he created one.
Wonderful. So now I am coming to this question that what you are going to tell. Now I am coming to that question. Now I was reading. I actually saw one documentary on Satyajit Ray, and then I was saying that Satyajit Ray, how did Satyajit Ray do some documentaries? He did one beautiful documentary on Tagore. So I watched that documentary, and then he made some references to Darkanath Tagore, Tagore's grandfather, and then I got that NBT published a book on Darkanath Tagore by Krishna Kriplani. I read that book. I was reading that book, and then in that book, Krishna Kriplani was referring to autobiography of Tagore's father, Maharshi Devendranath. So I was trying to read that book, and there I was finding about Upanishad, Veds, and all those things, and I have this Upanishads. So I started to read. I tried to understand the background of the Upanishad and things. So my early edition, that I didn't like that book, so I looked for another book, and that was Patrick, what is his name? Olivelle, the Sri Lankan author who translated this thing. And there I found one thing, that most of the Upanishads and Vedic literatures were produced from Haryana, Delhi till to Pataliputra, Bihar. In this region, the most of the Upanishads and Veds were produced, and they were produced. Even I found that in Devendranath Acharya's Tagore's book also, and mostly when we read those things, when that whether they were only these, the untouchables, the Dalits, the tribals, as if those people didn't exist, as if those people, they didn't exist in this tradition. As you were, that is why now I am coming to your issue, that one, on the one side is the burden of the past, and on the other side is the burden of the West, colonial legacy. So now,
I mean, yes, of course, during the colonial times, William Jones had eulogized Sanskrit, and it became, because a compliment was received from the Bada Saheb, many Indians started, particularly the Brahmin class in central India and in western Maharashtra, who had lost their kingdom, about these people coming, all the way from northwest up to Patna. There's something remarkable that I want to mention to you. In Katha Upanishad, which is about 5 centuries before Christ, there's a line which says Kshurasya Dhara Dushita Durita Kshurasya Dhara Nishita Duratya. To understand Brahman is as difficult as walking on a razor's edge. What interests me is not Brahma or sadhana, but the razor's edge. And I was thinking that it is because the Iron Age had started that Upanishadic philosopher could say that. He was not talking, to my mind, he was not talking about discovery of Brahman, because that is only an idea. But Iron Age with sharp-edged iron sword was an Indian speciality.
And that, yeah.
So he is talking about that material achievement as the discovery of the other world.
Yeah.
And that's what makes me an intellectual activist. I don't look at Brahman.
You saw that he was, so language, that was the kind of language he was. Language has always a context. Actually, it is connected to reality. The kind of words he used, it means something.
Yes, Mom has this novel, The Razor's Edge. He has borrowed the title from that line of Upanishad. So what we have is what we look at. How we look at things, that's what we have. We cannot have more than what we look at and how we look at. What we have is not out there. What we have is in our understanding of things. That's the point that I want to make.
So actually now this interview, there's time constraint. This interview is actually half done. I cannot say that this is a full interview, and I want to do an interview with you after going to some of your basic writings, and I think we must do it sometime later. But then you see, the way whatever we have discussed today, I think it is a prelude. It's a prelude to that interview. Maybe our audience also look forward to that interview. We'll definitely do it with little bit of more homework, and actually, because you have done so many things about the Indian linguistics survey. That book is already there. I have got that book. And then after that, this history book, which has come just now, that is another interesting. Actually, you just give me the book. I want to show the book. So I think this is your latest book.
This was published 3 years back.
Yes.
Yes,
Oh, this is the latest. This is the latest book. And if you could tell this, I we can afford some time, maybe 5-6 minutes. So tell me something about this book. How this book came out?
Well, in 2017, the Government of India's Cultural Ministry decided to appoint a committee of historians to rewrite Indian past for last 12,000 years. That committee had no woman, no Dalit, no tribal, no Christian, no Muslim, nobody from the Northeast, nobody from South India. So I was very disturbed, because if only those people, Central Indian Brahmins, decide to write history, I can imagine the kind of
What
history
kind
they
of
would
history they are
produce.
going to write?
So I thought this must be challenge. Then the best way, there were two ways of challenging. One was to write about this in newspapers and challenge and criticize. But you cannot criticize a thick-skinned entity and expect it to change. So I thought we should actually create a people's committee. So I wrote to about 150 eminent scholars from all over the world, specialized in their respective areas. All of them agreed to contribute. And so Tony Joseph, who has done some work in genetics now, history of genetics, and Ravi Korishet, who is an archaeologist, and we came together. We decided to, I had of course I had to read hundreds of books and news articles to understand the complexities. But then we decided to segregate this 12,000 years past in 100 segments about history of climate, history of migrations, history, genetic accounts, plantation, nomads, pastoralists, how cities came up prior to Indus and so on, how languages flowed into India, how philosophies emerged. Then, when we had to write about different states, I said we will not begin with Delhi and then go out, but we'll begin with Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Karnataka, Goa, Maharashtra, Gujarat, Sindh, Punjab, Kashmir, the Himalayan states, Assam, Bengal, Orissa, then go to Delhi. So that is my idea of republic. So the structure of the book is very, very unique.
Federalism, that India, yes, India is not what is somebody sitting in Delhi, this central thing. So that is how this book came out. And then after that, what happened to that committee?
That committee was dissolved. They changed their plans. They recast their plans.
Okay.
And this book had a very good reception. I was asked to go and lecture on this in various universities in the US, England. Soon after, within a month's time, I was getting invitations. I went to 5 British universities and 3 American universities
To speak about this
to
book.
speak about, because it has received immense response. It has had dozens and dozens of reviews, translations in many languages. I hope Assamese translation.
This will also be translated into Assamese. Yes. Thank you very much. This will be. So this is the kind of actually scholars, and that is why we call him a scholar activist, Professor Devy. So I'm really grateful to both of you for sparing time to speak to me for our audience, Northeast now, and I'm sure this episode of Cotton will be liked by many people. And but then, as I say, that this is only a half done interview. We'll do better interview later, and we'll do longer interview in much more detail. Thank you.
Inshallah, God willing, certainly we'll have another. But for our friends from Northeast, I want to say that the key for changing the future of entire Asia and India certainly is in the Northeast, and I will speak about it in our meeting.